How do most guys hit 30 years and they're ready to hang it up, but like, you don't even seem like you're close to ready to hang it up.
Your kids are like, Dad, Mom, when are you going to be home? What time? And that's the point where Michelle and I made it a point to ensure that one of us was there 99% of the time.
How do you feel about, we had this conversation about, would you recommend your kids join the military or law enforcement in today's society? How do you feel about that?
I think sometimes, so many times, as we express, there's a 3, a 5, and a 7-letter word that gets in the way of typically men, but great organizations. It's ego, pride, and control. You can't put your ego aside or behind you or your pride, and you can't relinquish control, which in turn leads to your demise.
Yep.
The reality of it is, again, having an outside perspective, if you will, getting dropped in to this organization at the top, or as I see it at the bottom, it's an inverted business pyramid. I have the opportunity to express. So I have an open door because people who befriended me as a patrol deputy or a jail deputy, when I was, if you will, no one, they have an open door. They can come and express their opinion anytime. And that's where typically the best type of, if you will, suggestions take root and move from there.
When's the book coming out? Because you got a wealth of it.
Yeah, and he hasn't changed.
Good philosophy.
Yeah, he hasn't changed, bro. Like, that's the thing. From the street, it's very much approachable. I've told you this before, and it just seems like I'm just heaping praise on you all. But man, you're the least administrator that I've ever met. Just because you came from that street goon mentality, and I mean that in the most complimentary way. Like, you're out there looking for bad guys and looking for felons and keep your eye on the prize for what patrol is supposed to be or what the agency's mission is, which is, collaborating with our partners and collaborating with our citizens, man. And it's been a breath of fresh air to see on that side for sure.
Well, we used to say down in Santa Ana, we had 2 types of cops. There was hunters and berry gatherers. The hunters, we go out and hunt the criminal element, the bad, the men of society. But along the same lines, you have those who want to pick berries and take the reports. That's fine. We have to complement each other.
Yeah,
but the reality is
both.
we choose which path we want. And I think it's beneficial. You talk about, again, the interagency, the force multiplier. I typically drive around from about 4 in the morning till early evening. And if there's someone on a traffic stop, I'm going to check out with them just because I don't have that mentality. We just keep driving by. No, never know, especially as thin as we are spread throughout these 1,316 square miles of the county. I can't stress enough, it's a force multiplier.
How do you most guys hit 30 years and they're ready to hang it up, but like, you don't even seem like you're close to ready to hang it up.
No, I see it as a purpose, and it is. We talk about it, it's a calling. I've truly enjoyed this. I grew up, my father did 30 years, my uncle did 30 years, my wife did 22, and let's be frank, if it wasn't for her support, I wouldn't be doing this still. And the family, we've all paid the price where our families have written checks that we couldn't cash years past. I remember when I took this position, my son, one of the things he asked me was, 1, you're going to sleep more, and 2, remember that we can take time off. Jokingly, up until the election, it was working about 8 days a week.
Oh man.
Now I'm down to about 5.5 back, but energy. I like having as we spoke of, a systematic approach to my life. It's not perfect. Okay. But the reality is getting up a certain time every morning, going to the gym, getting my day situated. Because I tell people I can control the front end of my day. I can't control anything once I get to work, and it all goes to wayside. But I truly enjoy coming to work. I don't see it as work. I get to come and see friends, interact with people that who've befriended me since I've been up here now 4.5 years. And the drive that I had in Santa Ana is the same, maybe channeled a little bit different perspective. But again, just trying to better, again, man of sayings, trying to do the right thing for the right reason, for the right people.
Yep.
No, and it's so cool. And I've got a chance to meet your wife. She is just as bad at being retired as you are. Okay, she is equally busy. I know she runs tunnels for towers. I remember going to that event. She stays really busy too. When I asked her about you being appointed undersheriff, she's like, yeah, it's just one of those super supportive, happy. If he's happy, I'm happy. Like, you could tell that just been the lifestyle. Like, and I know I feel that in mine. So it's like, all right, babe, I'm running this kind of new thing that I'm doing, and I'm going to do this other job at the same time. And I'm going to stay in the military for next year. She's like, whatever, just, whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, we've been a great team over the 23 years we've been together, because between the 2 of us and 2 professions and 2 careers within this profession, we were always making compromises between us personally, to make sure that one of us was there for the kids all the time. I laugh, just like I was telling our new hires this week, we all married Sometimes the benefit, your wife says, it'll be great, I don't see you till Friday. But your kids are like, Dad, Mom, when are you going to be home? What time? And that's the point where Michelle and I made it a point to ensure that one of us was there 99% of the time.
Yep.
Okay. And I try to tell the new hires, you work within the county, which was something foreign to me. You work here. If you miss a school function or something, that's on you, because all you need to do, unless we have a major incident, check out with your sergeant, hey, I'm going to go to this function, because you get it one chance to do it right by your family.
Yeah.
And I take that because, you know, my father, when he came out of Vietnam, he went to work graveyard for 4 years and went to USC during the day to get his degree. And to this day, if you want to get him emotional, he'll say, I never heard your first word. I never saw your first step. So when I was entering this profession, he's like, make sure you do it right. So the point when you retire, your kids know you.
Yeah.
And I joke, when I left Santa Ana, the place didn't crumble behind me. It continues on. It's nice to be thought of, but more importantly, it's nice to be known by your family, your wife and children. Again, not perfect at it. It's a continuous effort given, but it is the point where that long-lasting relationship you establish, especially within your household.
How do you feel about, we had this conversation about, you know, would you recommend your kids join the military or law enforcement in today's society? How do you feel about that?
I still think it's a calling, and let's be honest, it's a necessity of society.
Yep.
Whether you serve in one capacity or the other, that's a personal choice. I would love to see one of my daughters was initially looking at forensics, capacity of law enforcement. My son was considering being a pilot, maybe law enforcement too. Obviously, it's very difficult in the optics of society, right? I use a term quite frequently, it's FUD. Sheriff and I use it quite frequently, fear, uncertainty, doubt. That's what the mainstream media likes to push on a daily basis. Fear, uncertainty, doubt. In Southern California, it was if it bleeds, it leads, right?
Yep. Yeah.
The reality of it is as of recent years, the mentality towards law enforcement was this is corrupt group or whatever, when in reality, it's a fraction of situations, interactions within the public that go awry. 99.999% of it is all good contact. So getting back to your question, I would love to have them consider it. Would I push them towards it? No, it has to be a personal choice. Yeah. And I think that's what drew the three of us into this profession, whether coming out of the military or having personal experience of growing up around it. I'll be honest with you, I had no desire to be in law enforcement. I was hoping to be a career military. That didn't work out. I came home and had to get my head right to start a profession. I always remember my father saying, you can get a job or you can start a profession. And you look at it that way. This profession has evolved so much. When I first started, we didn't have handheld radios. We didn't have computers in the car. Now everything's computer based, and you pretty much have to be computer literate to do your job. It is very interesting dynamic when the computers go down and people are somewhat adrift in trying to get their activities done.
How much did you love that though? How much do you love it when that goes down and you're stuck there? You're like, all right.
It is, you go back to a Thomas guide, right?
Oh, dude, myself. That's how I started.
My wife and I laugh about that all the time, about you try to explain to kids, because now everything's Google, right? You get directions where it's just, okay, you go to page 17, A4, and then it carries over to page 18, whatever, and trying to, while you're responding to a call. And I can only imagine up here in this county with the fire service roads and everything.
Oh, boy.
It would be quite difficult. But nonetheless, getting back, the point being is it has to be a personal choice. I would love for them to follow in the footsteps of my wife and I and my father and my uncle and following us, but it has to be a personal choice. You can always tell them the good and bad, but let's be honest, this profession is no different than any highs and lows daily. It's what you make of it.